Hey, huge influx of new subscribers thanks to Matt, Quantum of Conscious. So I'm going to do a triple header here. Three of the videos I feel like you got to watch them in order. And in order to understand the work I'm putting out here and everything, because I'm getting tons of views on these new ones, but no one's seen these other ones. So these ones are critical. And thanks to everyone that's new, snoop around the page. All right, man, I'm going to give a compilation here of all these ones I have previous videos on, but I'm going to put them all in one place. And we're going to take it a step further. Here you got Adventures in Babysitting. So she's coming off the building on the rope there. And when you flip and invert that in Photoshop, line them up, you get exactly the 47 degrees of the Freemason square and compass. Fits right in there perfectly. And then you go another step further. You can put that satanic upside down pentagram in there. And it's going to fit right over where these boys' heads are right here climbing up. You know, the shoes here basically become the eyes. These legs right here would become like the horns of this demonic face or whatever. These movie covers are like overlays of previous famous works of art. Like Lampoon's Vacation, it becomes the Vitruvian Man, Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, which I've brightened it up a little bit in Photoshop just to kind of help show what I'm seeing here. Is you got the guy here, he's all like electrified, right? He's the electrical body, and that's kind of what this is about too, is your energetic body. If you look at where these presents are out of his hands, when I fade in the Vitruvian Man, the presents become right on top of where those hands are. If you look at this R, the radius, it points to right where that green present is on the outside of that circle exactly. The Vitruvian Man's feet land exactly on top of this house, and then you know, it's just a perfect match pretty much. So they're somehow tapping into, they know you've seen this Vitruvian Man, and then they tap into it by overlaying their own little cover on there. I also did the one of the Free Willy cover. I took a picture of a brain online. All right, when you blend the Free Willy cover on there, you got the optic nerve right here. It points to exactly where the horizon is on this. That's why the horizon always rises to your eye level. The hypothalamus and pituitary gland, master glands of the brain, point right to this little boy. One's his upper section, one's his lower section. He's two different colors. When you come up here, it says ventricles, the fluid-filled spaces. That goes right to like the whale's blowhole on there. The choroid plexus points right here to the whale. The layering on the clouds and the rock, the structure of it is like to represent the ribboning parts of the brain, how it looks like all the ridges and stuff. That's what that's for on this Free Willy cover. And I'm going to do a longer video on that one specifically and how it ties into the movie. And what it's really about here is it's about raising the cerebrospinal fluid. And that's what's signified here by the whale coming over the ponds here. That's the significance behind this cover. And then you also got where it says cerebrum points right to the logo Free Willy. That's the free will part of your brain. You got this Yig Drizzle or whatever, the Norse Tree of Life. And on that one, you can overlay this Independence Day cover on it. You have the flat plane in the middle. You have almost like a tree trunk shape here on the ID4 cover. You have a beam coming down here, right? There's a beam that's coming down. It's swooping down. Here you got a beam just coming straight down. You have this white dome type color. You have the snake coming down, but on this white dome, it's like electrifying out. And like this White House is kind of exploding out. And even on if you zoom in here, you got it's basically like a white castle type thing there to resonate with the White House. So that's what it seems like they're doing, is they're resonating with these drawings that might be you've probably seen before, and they're counting on you've seen it, and it's installed in your brain as some kind of programming. and then they just overlay their own thing on here on movies. And even in wrestling here, you got Randy Orton. He comes out, he hits this pose on the ropes. And what they're doing here is they're trying to hit this Orion. They're trying to resonate with Orion constellation. You know, Randy Orton, he's not a champion. He's always got the belt. You got Orion's belt. You got the legs spread. You got Randy Orton is the legend killer. He came out and hunted all the legends when he first started, and Orion's the hunter. And you got the obvious parallel with the names. You got Orton and Orion. They're only off by one letter. So he's the viper, you know, some kind of serpent, which would be like some kind of luminescent energy. They're trying to resonate with that because this is something that either you're familiar with it or maybe your ancestors were familiar with it. So it somehow resides inside of you like some kind of legacy computer code, right? And whether you know it or not, it's somehow resonating in you, I think. You got the game operation with the Tree of Life. There's a lot of different ones with the Tree of Life, including in architecture and everything. Notre Dame was one, but when I put that, the top crown above his head, you know, the ears match up. You got this Sephiroth lines up with the ice cream one. You got the Adam's apple and the wishbone. They line up right on the bottom two ones. And then when I doubled it and I brought it down again, you got, you know, this diagonal line matches right up with the diagonal line for the spare ribs with the green circle here. This Sephiroth, right where there's green on his body, and it ties off here. So I think they're using these. They're programming you even as you're a child and you don't even realize it. And these symbols and everything are getting installed in your brain. So they dropped this on screen one time, and even the announcers talked about it and everything. Some overlay what was happening on a game there. You got the Lama symbol right there, right by the word all-star, like a play on Aleister. You got the two eyes with the triangle above its head. You know, just like the famous Aleister Crowley pose, where his famous picture. So that's kind of like his signature in there. This is the revelation of the method. This is how they revealed what was happening here when Randy Johnson hit the bird, was some kind of thalamic ritual or something. Right where the bird is hit in the middle of this crosshairs, the bird explodes, and you see the wings here on this one, of the wings kind of ascending or whatever. And you got Randy Johnson's head in the same circle crosshairs, this pitcher's head that lines up the umpire with this symbol of the Tree of Life. The catcher lines up exactly with that hammer and sickle. And that's its own video. You know, Randy Johnson is the serpent. He's playing for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and that's the dove. So that's the two symbols of the Lama, the OTO. That's their symbols, is the serpent and the dove. So what I'm showing you is different from like the Home Alone right here. Like the Home Alone is based on it, but you couldn't just lay the picture on top of it and be hitting that many like notes of it or whatever. And this is something they've been doing forever, like with this Michelangelo one, God, you know, being like, you can lay the brain right over it and it fits perfectly on there. So I'm going to start calling this progressive psyche overlay, because it seems like they're counting on you've seen these previous images of brain diagrams or like the Vitruvian man and all that, and then they put it over there and it hits those parts of that are in your brain as programming, and it progressively overlays on your psyche. So going forward, I'm going to need this term, so I wanted to make a video on it to establish what I mean here when I say that. Progressive psyche overlay. But I'll have more videos coming soon, so thanks for everyone that checks me out, and peace out. All right, everybody, what up? It's your boy Drew, and a lot of you people probably have seen the Randy Johnson throws a pitch, explodes the bird. That happened in 2001 when Randy Johnson was pitching for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And I showed how that goes with this. I'm going to keep the sound off to try to avoid a copyright strike here. This is a game from June 26, 2013, where these occult symbols were overlaid during a live Major League Baseball game. The commentator says, I have no idea what this means. Apparently, the baseball gods did know what this means. And I'll leave the link to this and to the Randy Johnson pitch in the description so you guys can check these out. But what I did is I took these images and I overlaid them on each other. This picture here has his head in this circle. So when you align Randy Johnson's head in that same circle, what happens here is the exploding dove is right in between the crosshairs of this serpent and cross symbol with the dove's wings here above it. And it's my contention that this Randy Johnson pitch, they show it to you every year. They bring it back up every year and show you the highlight. And it's something that lives in your subconscious mind. And they bring it back every year. They kind of pick that scab and refresh that in your subconscious every year. And I believe it has something to do with some sort of Aleister Crowley type ceremonial magic. And since it happened in 2001, I want to know if it has anything to do with maybe with 9/11. And I believe this occult symbolism overlay was sort of like a confession where they're telling you what they do, because we know that's what they do. They got to tell you how they work. And this here just shows you how they're planting these signs and sigils in your subconscious mind to get the collective consciousness to manifest the reality that these people want, these information controllers. So let's break down this a little more. If you don't know who Randy Johnson is, if you're younger, you weren't a sports fan at all, one of the greatest pitchers in the game, in the history of the game here. He's 6'10". He had a fastball over 100 miles an hour. If you look over here, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a 5-time Cy Young Award winner. He won the pitching triple crown, meaning the most wins, the lowest ERA, and most strikeouts in one season. He won the World Series conveniently in 2001 when the pitch hit the bird. He was the World Series MVP and a 4-time ERA champion. So one of the best pitchers in the history of baseball. Lots of articles about this. Bird experts reflect on Randy Johnson hitting a bird with a pitch. A lot of people say it's a pigeon, and even Randy Johnson himself in interviews refers to it as a pigeon. Let's read this real quick. It says 15 years later, the event remains iconic, and the big unit, that's Randy Johnson's nickname, says he gets asked about that incident nearly as much as he does about winning the World Series later that year with the Arizona Diamondbacks. That was his team. It says, but Johnson seems to have made peace with the event. In fact, he made the dead bird a logo of his photography company. We're going to go over that too in a minute. This is the logo to his company. In honor of the 15th anniversary of the feathery freak accident, we thought we'd ask a few ornithologists, people who study birds, about their thoughts on the events. First of all, what kind of bird was it? There are conflicting reports. Henry Strebe, researcher at University of Toledo, says, based on video and pictures I've seen, I'm reasonably certain it was a mourning dove. Clayton Brown agrees. He's a researcher with Wilson Ornithological Society, says yes, it was a mourning dove. We can also confirm that here in this Deadspin article. It shows this guy right here, Jeff Kent, another player, picking up the picture of picking up the bird, and it's a mourning dove. That's the corpse. That's the corpse of the bird. You got the groundskeeper here picking up the feathers. And another interesting thing here in the same article, it says, amazingly, we were very close to never having video footage of the bird incident and having it go down as nothing more than an urban legend. This was in the days before nearly every spring training game was televised, and there was just one camera in the ballpark. It belonged to Jim Kurgan, the Diamondbacks video coordinator, who set it up in the center field camera well, filming at-bats for teams, coaches, and scouts to refer to later. And this guy here, he keeps the tape on a shelf to this day. He has it labeled bird tape. So it was being filmed for a reason. And when I began investigating this, one of the first things my buddy, you can go follow him at Instagram, his handle's Enslaved by Truth. He noticed right away where the word all-star is right here on the wall. All-star. And then there's this symbol right here, which this symbol is affiliated with Aleister Crowley. And if you're familiar with him, you know he was like a ceremonial magician. The elites practice his stuff to this day. Thelema, do as thou wilt. Here's this symbol right here. So the word all-star is being like a play on words as all-star or Aleister. And it's right here by his symbol. And Aleister Crowley is also associated with the OTO, Ordo Templi Orientis, or the Order of the Temple of the East. It's an international fraternal and religious organization founded at the beginning of the 20th century by Carl Kellner and Theodore Russ. English author and occultist Aleister Crowley is the best known and most influential member of the order. And you have the symbol right here. You have the all-seeing eye in the pyramid. You have a dove here, a mourning dove, and you have a chalice. So I wonder if the chalice could be referred to also as like a pitcher. You have the eye here. You have the dove in the middle of the screen exploding here. And then is the pitcher also the chalice? Is that the same? Is that a meaning behind that? I'm not sure. You know, when you search OTO, you come up with a lot of pictures of dove and serpent, including this one. It might be harder to read on your screen, but this says the thalamic dichotomy. It's on the snake here is written, the toughness of the serpent and the softness of the dove. That's on the serpent's skin. And then the dove's carrying a banner right here that says 1963, a tough mind and a tender heart. You have all these other images of serpents and doves together. Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Matthew 10:16. Here you have, you know, the OTO dove and serpent, where basically the serpent is the Ouroboros with the dove right in the middle. And that pretty much matches exactly, you know, Randy Johnson's photography logo right here. Dead bird in the middle with the serpent Ouroboros surrounding it. And if you don't know, the Arizona Diamondbacks, who Randy Johnson was playing for at the time, a diamondback is a snake. This is their logo. This is the snake's head in the logo. They also use a snake here. This isn't a reach. That's literally named after snakes. So you have the diamondback is a snake. So what you have is the snake, the diamondback, Randy Johnson, hitting the dove in the center of the screen, where there's a serpent ascending up a cross. Above the cross, you have the bird's wings. You could say they're the dove's wings. And all the other things that go with that. One of the reasons I'm making this video is to see what other people can catch. I don't know what all these symbols mean, but maybe there's people that can add to this in the comment section of this video. All right, man, check this out. So my friend was at this Valujet memorial in Florida, sending me pictures, and it was crazy looking memorial. So I never really heard of it, looked it up, and it was Valujet 529, May 11th, 1996. This plane, DC-9, crashed into the swamp, 110 people dead, everyone's dead, planes vaporized. So right away, I'm always looking for the 369 codes you see in these mainstream media ones. So when you add the numbers of the jet together, the 5 plus 2 plus 9, that's 16, which reduces down to 7. And then right away I saw this May 11th, which is 5 plus 11, another 16, which reduces down to 7. And then 1996, another reduction down to 7. So 777. And when I see these 777s in these mainstream stories, it's like, you know, my conspiracy senses are tingling. You know, I know to look deeper into this. So let me first and foremost say I'm not saying that this plane crash is a hoax or anything. I'm not going to go into any wild speculation yet. Depending on how the reception of this video is, you know, I'll do a live stream later where I go more into speculation and all that. But for this one, I'm just going to stick with, you know, what I can prove. But that 777 got me looking into it more. This is what the memorial looks like. It's all these, you know, Egyptian obelisks or whatever. They're all lined up. And when you see it from the top view, it makes this weird shape. I mean, it was pretty crazy looking. So I started digging around online, see what I could see for it. I go to above top secret, like a conspiracy forum. Here's a dude, May 14th, 2009. His name is Adrenochrome. That's an interesting name, right? who was talking about adrenochrome in 2009. But anyway, this dude says, you know, he's looking into it for whatever, because this picture he's got is the only picture he can find where there's no wreckage or anything. There's just a little hole there. And he's got this picture here, a second picture, which he says he thinks is actually from the Flight 93 crash, which was a totally different thing. So this second one's not even confirmed to be the Valujet one. And there's other people in this thread, you know, responding. Here's a different guy. He puts a picture of what a plane crash should look like when crashing into the Everglades. Eastern Airlines Flight 401 crash. So it's some historical photos of, this is what it looks like when it crashes into the Everglades, you know, because look at it, it's not that deep. These guys are only up to the knee deep. And here they're getting all the wreckage. But the other one, they say just completely vaporized. And here's some other things showing, you know, the profile, the side view of how deep these Everglades are. And this guy posts, you know, the average depth is 9 feet. So, I mean, an entire airplane just disappeared in there or what? And then I found this article about it from 2016, 20-year anniversary of it, you know. It says right here, rescuers arrived at the scene, you know, to find a shocking sight. The plane was gone, shredded to bits by the impact of the crash. So there's really no wreckage. So what's going on here? Yeah, so it says right here, the Valujet Memorial, and it says it's pointing to the crash site. And it says here on Wikipedia, on the 3rd anniversary of the accident in 1999, they propped up this memorial in the Everglades. It says it's 11.9 miles from Chrome Avenue in Miami-Dade County, and points to the location of the crash site 11.9 miles to the northeast. So they're talking about this arrow or whatever points out to the crash site. So I got these coordinates from Wikipedia of where the crash was. I popped the coordinates into the Google Maps right here. And yeah, 11.9 miles away from the memorial. But when I was looking at it too, I'm looking at this memorial. When I'm looking at this memorial too, I'm like, yo, it's not pointing very straight. You think it'd be going more straight out, you know? So I started re-examining the whole monument and seeing what it was and like what all these different things were. So then once I took a long enough look at it, I think it came to me when I saw some kind of angle like this. And then I realized what you're looking at right here. In 1999, this was made. You're looking at an animation that's written in stone right here. And it's an animation of the two towers collapsing down into nothing. So that's what all these are. It's basically an animation written in stone before the event happens, right? So if it's talking about 9/11, so I zoomed into New York, came here to the One World Trade Center, put a pin and made a line from there all the way back to that memorial in Florida in the Everglades. And then you see the line here. This is the line, the Valujet line. The arrow is pointing from here. That line is pointing all the way to New York, where the site of the Twin Towers were. And that explains why on this Wikipedia here, you know, it says it's 11.9 miles from Crone Avenue, 911 reverse. Why would you put that in there? And then it says the crash site is 11.9 miles out to the northeast, another 911 reverse. And then when you look at the aerial view of what this memorial is, look at it right here, and I hope you've checked out my previous video to understand where I'm coming from on this, where I made a previous video called Progressive Psyche Overlay to see where I'm coming from on this. But when I see this, the first thing I thought popped to mind too was this negative space inside in between all these obelisks, right? That negative space. Remember, this is in 1999, but what you have right there, a Progressive Psyche Overlay of the One World Tower, that shouldn't have even been in existence, a model for this or a blueprint or anything, because it's only 1999 when this memorial is erected here. And there's probably, you know, a year or two of planning even before this, but we can only say 1999. Right here, you have this visual of the shape of the One World Tower that's going to go up in the future in New York. So I don't know what's going on. I don't get the whole thing. I know there's some crazy stuff happening right here. You know, here's another article I found from 1996 about it. It says there's no airplane left. Again, it's a DC-9, and there's 110 victims. So you got like 9/11 encoded right into it. But then this guy in this article, I thought it was weird. It says he's some diver. It says when he slipped into the water at 9:11 a.m. for his 95-minute dive. You know, why would you include that in there? Do you really need to put that time in there in 1996? You know what I'm saying? So if you're not one of these people that understands the Twin Towers that was built to be destroyed, and it was some kind of massive magic spell, some consciousness shift or something, this is going to sound so far out there to you. But if you're one of these people that's pursuing it from that point of view and you have the understanding, you're going to see what I'm putting out here. Is I'm putting out basically a smoking gun of these people, whoever they are, showing you what they do, animation written in stone before it even happens. One World Tower fits directly inside of this thing. So again, I don't want to take away from this plane crash being real or fake or any of that. I just want to show you, this is all I can prove right here is these connections. So I'd love to hear some comments. And again, if I get good feedback or whatever on this, I'll do a live stream with a lot more speculation about this later. All right. So everyone that follows me, thanks a lot for your support and everything. And I'll be back with more videos later. Peace.